Quite by accident, my husband's ex-wife appeared at our vacation resort. "Such a coincidence," she cheered. That evening, I stumbled upon a schedule for their meetings hidden in his wallet. At breakfast, I shared that I'd taken my vacation to the next level by transferring to another resort and filing for divorce. Before we continue, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a comment about where you are watching from. Let's go back to where it all began. The day everything changed started like any other, seemingly, ordinary Wednesday. I remember the crisp morning light filtering through our bedroom curtains, casting long shadows that would soon become metaphors for the hidden truths lurking beneath my picture-perfect marriage. The soft hum of the coffee machine, the gentle rustle of Gabriel's newspaper. Everything felt so perfectly normal, so beautifully mundane. When Gabriel casually mentioned his chance encounter with Leah at the luxury resort, something in his voice, a subtle tremor, a barely perceptible hesitation, triggered my forensic accountant's instincts. Years of professional training had taught me to read between the lines, to notice the microscopic tells that most people would overlook. And right then, something felt monumentally off. I watched him carefully as he described the meeting. His hands moved with practiced ease, buttering his toast with a calculated precision that suddenly felt like a performance. The way he avoided direct eye contact, the slight shift in his body language, these were the same tells I'd recognized in countless financial fraud cases during my career. But this time, it was personal. This was my life, my marriage unraveling, before my very eyes. It was pure intuition that led me to search his wallet that evening. My hands weren't shaking. They were steady, methodical, professional. The leather wallet felt heavy with secrets, its worn edges holding more stories than Gabriel ever would, and there it was, a meticulously folded paper schedule with precise locations and timestamps. This wasn't a coincidental meeting. This was a choreographed rendezvous, planned with mathematical precision that would make even my most analytical professional self impressed, and absolutely furious. Each notation on that small piece of paper was like a dagger, systematically dismantling the facade of our supposedly loving marriage. Locations were marked with a clinical detachment that spoke volumes. Resort lobby, 2:15 p.m., private terrace, 3:45 p.m., sunset bar, 5:30 p.m. These weren't random encounters. They were calculated meetings between two people who thought they were operating in perfect secrecy. My mind began to race, reconstructing the timeline of our relationship. How long had this been going on? How many business trips and coincidental meetings had been carefully orchestrated lies? The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was a calculated strategy, a calculated betrayal that cut deeper than any physical infidelity could. The irony wasn't lost on me. As a forensic accountant, I had spent years uncovering complex financial schemes for clients. Now, the most intricate deception was unfolding in my own life, with my own husband as the primary architect. Gabriel, who had always presented himself as the epitome of transparency and trust, was orchestrating an elaborate performance right under my nose. I remembered our first date, how he had spoken about honesty being the cornerstone of any relationship. The memories now felt like carefully constructed illusions, each moment tainted by the knowledge of his deceit. His promises of love, of commitment, now rang hollow. Each word a calculated manipulation designed to maintain the perfect image of our marriage. My professional training kicked in. I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to be the investigator, the strategist, the one who would uncover every single detail of this elaborate scheme. My mind began connecting dots, weaving together a narrative that was both shocking and somehow predictable. The late-night phone calls I'd dismissed, the unexplained business trips, the subtle changes in his behavior, they weren't random. They were calculated pieces of a larger, more sinister puzzle. What Gabriel didn't realize was that I was no ordinary wife. I was a professional trained to dissect complex scenarios, to follow money trails, to uncover what others desperately wanted to keep hidden. My years of forensic accounting had prepared me for moments exactly like this, uncovering truths hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed lies. As the evening light began to fade, casting long shadows across our bedroom, I realized this was more than just a personal betrayal. This was a strategic battle, and I was about to become the most formidable opponent Gabriel had ever encountered. The paper schedule in my hand was more than just evidence. It was a declaration of war. Little did he know, but his accidental meeting had just become the first piece of evidence in what would become a meticulously documented exposure of his deception. The game had changed, and I was no longer a passive participant. I was now the primary investigator of my own life's most critical case, and I was going to uncover every single truth, no matter the cost. The anniversary trip was supposed to be our salvation, a chance to rebuild what I thought was slowly crumbling between us. I had meticulously planned every detail, hoping to reignite the spark that seemed to be fading in our marriage. Little did I know, my carefully crafted romantic getaway would become the perfect stage for Gabriel's most elaborate deception. I remember spending weeks planning the perfect second honeymoon. Each reservation, each activity was chosen with surgical precision. The luxury resort I selected wasn't just a location. It was my desperate attempt to reconnect, to prove that our love could transcend the growing distance between us. I wanted to believe we could fix what was broken, unaware that the cracks ran deeper than I could ever imagine. The moment we arrived, something felt different. Gabriel's enthusiasm seemed performative, a carefully rehearsed act of marital harmony. His smiles were calculated, his touches measured. Where was the spontaneity, the genuine connection we once shared? Every interaction felt like a scene from a poorly written play, with both of us playing roles we no longer believed in. I had booked a suite with a breathtaking ocean view, thinking the romantic setting would bring us closer. Romantic dinners were planned, couples massages arranged, sunset walks meticulously scheduled. Each moment was designed to be a testament to our love, a beacon of hope in our troubled marriage. But hope, I was learning, can be the most dangerous illusion of all. It was during our second night, a night I had imagined would be filled with rekindled passion and intimate conversations, that the first true signs of betrayal became painfully clear. A misplaced text message, a hushed phone call, the way Gabriel's eyes would dart around the room. These were not the actions of a husband focused on saving his marriage. The resort became a labyrinth of lies. Every romantic gesture I had planned was being systematically hijacked, transformed into a cover for something far more sinister. Each carefully selected restaurant, each meticulously planned activity, they were nothing more than convenient meeting points, perfect alibis for Gabriel's ongoing betrayal. I began to see the resort through different eyes. The romantic sunset, walks became surveillance missions. Dinner dates transformed into opportunities for covert communication. The couple's massage I had booked, a moment I thought would bring us closer, became just another chance for Gabriel to exchange knowing glances with someone else. My forensic mind started connecting the dots. The strategic location of our suite, the specific resort I had chosen, these weren't coincidences. Gabriel had known about these details beforehand. He had used my own romantic plans as a perfect camouflage for his ongoing affair with Leah. Betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was a complete psychological warfare. My husband had turned our second honeymoon into an elaborate stage for his deception. Every romantic moment I had carefully planned was now nothing more than a prop in his carefully constructed narrative of infidelity. As the days passed, the truth became increasingly impossible to ignore. The anniversary trip I had hoped would save our marriage was actually the perfect trap, one that Gabriel and Leah had been planning long before we even arrived. My romantic gesture had become their playground of deceit. I realized then that my meticulously planned second honeymoon was never about saving our marriage. It was about giving Gabriel and Leah the perfect opportunity to continue their secret rendezvous. right under my unsuspecting nose. The irony was devastating. I had become the architect of my own emotional destruction. But I was far from defeated. Every lie, every calculated move was another piece of evidence, and I was going to collect them all, methodically and ruthlessly. This anniversary trip might have been their trap, but I was about to spring a trap of my own, one that would expose every single detail of their betrayal. The evidence began to accumulate like a meticulously constructed puzzle, each piece more damning than the last. My forensic accounting skills, once reserved for professional investigations, now turned inward, dissecting the financial landscape of my own marriage with clinical precision. It started with a single email, tucked away in a forgotten folder. The subject line was innocuous. Horizon Partners, Project Update. But the contents sent a seismic shock through my entire understanding of our life together. Gabriel and Leah had co-founded a company, a secret venture that had been quietly siphoning money from our joint investments. $387,000. The number burned itself into my mind. This wasn't just a casual indiscretion or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a calculated, financial betrayal that had been brewing for months, perhaps even years. Each transfer, each financial movement was a calculated step in their elaborate scheme. I pulled out my old forensic accounting toolkit, skills I thought I'd left behind when I stepped away from my professional career. Spreadsheets became my weapon, bank statements my ammunition. I traced every digital footprint, every suspicious transaction. Shell companies emerged like phantoms, interconnected in a web of financial deceit that would make even the most sophisticated fraudster proud. The more I uncovered, the more I realized this wasn't just about infidelity. This was a complete dismantling of our financial partnership, a betrayal that ran deeper than mere emotional unfaithfulness. Gabriel and Leah had been planning this for far longer than I could have imagined. Financial documents told a story more complex than any romantic novel. Transfers made under the guise of business investments, money moved through intricate channels, accounts opened in jurisdictions that seemed designed to obscure their true intent. Each document was a piece of evidence, each transaction a testimony to their carefully orchestrated plan. I remembered the nights Gabriel would work late, the conferences he'd attend, the business trips that now seemed like carefully constructed alibis. My trust had been their greatest weapon, my belief in our partnership their most effective disguise. They had been playing a long game, and I had been an unwitting player. The revelation was both devastating and empowering. I wasn't just a victim. I was a forensic accountant who had spent years uncovering precisely these types of schemes. The very skills I had used to protect others were now my most potent tool for self-preservation. Emails revealed a relationship far more intimate than mere business collaboration. Intimate exchanges, detailed financial plans, shared dreams of a future that had been carefully constructed behind my back. Each word was a knife, each message a testament to the depth of their betrayal. I compiled everything. Bank statements, email exchanges, transaction records, a dossier of deceit that would become my most powerful weapon. Gabriel and Leah thought they were operating in the shadows, but I was about to drag every single detail into the harsh light of truth. This wasn't just about money. This was about trust, about the fundamental contract of partnership that Gabriel had systematically destroyed. And I was going to make sure he understood the full extent of his betrayal. As I sat surrounded by evidence, one thing became crystal clear. My days of being a passive participant were over. I was no longer the unsuspecting wife. I was a forensic, accountant, a strategic thinker, and I was about to become their worst nightmare. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. My professional past wasn't just a chapter in my life. It was a weapon waiting to be unleashed. Years of forensic accounting training had been lying dormant, like a specialized skill set preserved for exactly this moment of personal crisis. The skills I had once used to unravel complex financial schemes for corporate clients were about to be deployed in the most personal investigation of my life. Reactivating my professional network was like reconnecting with an old, powerful ally. Discreet emails to former colleagues, carefully worded inquiries that wouldn't raise suspicion. Each contact was a strategic move, gathering information about shell companies, tracing digital financial footprints that Gabriel and Leah believed were perfectly hidden. The digital trail they thought they had meticulously erased was nothing more than a challenge to my forensic expertise. Hidden transfers began to surface. Money moved through intricate channels. Accounts opened in jurisdictions designed to obscure their true intent. What they saw as a perfect scheme, I saw as a complex puzzle waiting to be solved. I started reconstructing their entire financial narrative. Each transaction became a piece of evidence, each financial movement a testimony to their calculated betrayal. My forensic mind worked like a precise instrument, cutting through layers of financial deception with surgical accuracy. Gabriel and Leah had no idea the storm that was about to descend upon them. Late nights transformed into strategic planning sessions. My home office became a war room, filled with financial documents, digital forensics, and a growing dossier of evidence. Bank statements, email exchanges, transaction records, each piece carefully organized, each detail meticulously documented. My previous life as a forensic accountant had prepared me for precisely this moment. I understood the psychology of financial fraud, the subtle tells that most people would overlook. Gabriel and Leah thought they were operating in the shadows, but I was about to illuminate every single dark corner of their deception. Professional. Contacts from my past became unexpected allies. A former colleague who specialized in digital forensics, a bank investigator I had worked with years ago. Each connection was a strategic resource. They didn't know the full personal story, but they understood the technical challenge of unraveling complex financial schemes. I traced the money like a detective follows a trail of clues. Shell companies began to unravel. Hidden transfers became visible. Horizon Partners was more than just a business venture. It was a carefully constructed mechanism for financial betrayal. Each layer I peeled back revealed a more intricate level of deception. The skills that had once been my professional identity were now my most powerful personal weapon. Gabriel and Leah had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated the forensic accountant they thought was just a passive, trusting wife. Every financial move they had made was about to be exposed, dissected, and used against them. My transformation was complete. I was no longer the unsuspecting wife planning a romantic anniversary. I was a forensic accountant on a mission, armed, with years of professional training and a personal motivation more powerful than any corporate investigation I had ever conducted. The final pieces of the puzzle were coming together. And when they did, Gabriel and Leah would realize they had been playing a dangerous game with someone who knew exactly how to win. Their carefully constructed facade was about to crumble, one financial document at a time. The moment of preparation had passed. Now was the time for strategic action. I picked up the phone and dialed my longtime lawyer, Rebecca Martinez, a woman known for her razor-sharp legal mind and absolute discretion. Our conversation was carefully measured, each word calculated to convey the gravity of the situation without revealing too much. "I need a complete legal shield," I told her, my voice steady and professional. Years of forensic training had taught me that emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. Every action needed to be precise, every move strategically planned. Personal banker Michael Reynolds became my next critical ally. With decades of experience in high-stakes financial disputes, he understood the delicate art of asset protection. Together, we began the meticulous process of freezing joint accounts, securing personal investments, and creating an impenetrable financial fortress. Bank transfers were redirected, joint credit cards canceled, investment portfolios carefully segmented. Each action was a calculated chess move, designed to protect my financial interests and cut off any potential escape routes for Gabriel and Leah. They might have thought they were clever, but I was about to show them the true meaning of strategic planning. I gathered every single piece of evidence: email exchanges, financial documents, the detailed schedule I'd found in Gabriel's wallet. Each item was carefully scanned, digitally backed up, and documented. Nothing would be left to chance. Years of forensic accounting had taught me that documentation was the most powerful weapon in any investigation. My lawyer prepared cease and desist orders, preliminary documentation for divorce proceedings, and strategic legal notices that would make Gabriel and Leah realize the full extent of their impending legal nightmare. Every document was a precision instrument, carefully crafted, to expose their deceit while protecting my interests. Personal assets were my next priority. Properties, investment accounts, retirement funds, everything was meticulously reviewed and secured. I wasn't just protecting my financial future, I was dismantling the elaborate financial network they had so carefully constructed. Rebecca recommended a series of immediate legal actions: temporary restraining orders on joint accounts, preservation of digital evidence, documentation of every single financial move. Each step was designed to prevent Gabriel and Leah from liquidating or hiding assets. The most satisfying part was how methodical everything felt. This wasn't an emotional breakdown. This was a professional takedown. Every skill I had developed as a forensic accountant was now being used to dismantle the most personal betrayal of my life. Michael helped me create a comprehensive financial snapshot, a detailed record of all joint and personal assets. We identified every potential hidden transfer, every suspicious transaction. The paper trail would become my most powerful weapon in the upcoming legal battle. I remembered something from my professional days. The most successful investigations are those where the subject has no idea they're being investigated until it's too late. Gabriel and Leah were about to learn that lesson in the most personal way possible. As I looked at the growing stack of documents, a sense of calm washed over me. This wasn't about revenge. This was about justice, about reclaiming my life and my financial independence. Every piece of paper was a step towards my freedom. The counter-offensive had begun, and I was just getting started. The luxury resort's elegant breakfast terrace would become the stage for the most calculated moment of my life. I had chosen this location with the same precision I once applied to my most complex forensic investigations. Every detail was meticulously planned. The table by the window with perfect acoustics, the timing synchronized to Gabriel and Leah's usual morning routine. I arrived early, my appearance a carefully constructed armor of confidence. The crisp, white blouse, the tailored blazer, each piece was chosen to communicate strength, not vulnerability. My reflection in the restaurant's glass revealed a woman transformed. Gone was the naive wife who once believed in blind trust. In her place stood a strategic mastermind, a forensic accountant ready to dismantle the most personal betrayal of her life. The morning sunlight cascaded through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a stark light on the reality I was about to expose. Years of professional training had taught me that the most powerful moments often arrive wrapped in absolute calm. My hands didn't shake. My breath was steady. This wasn't an emotional breakdown. This was a professional takedown. Gabriel and Leah entered the restaurant, their body language speaking volumes. The subtle touches, the shared glances, they believed they were invisible, undetectable. Little did they know that every single movement had been documented, every interaction, catalogued with the precision of a forensic investigation. Their intimacy was not a secret, it was evidence. A manila folder sat beside my coffee, filled with the damning evidence of their betrayal. The weight of the documents felt like justice itself, tangible and uncompromising. Bank statements detailing hidden transfers, email exchanges revealing their calculated plan, travel records proving their systematic deception. Each page was a weapon carefully crafted to dismantle their elaborate lie. "Good morning," I said, my voice calm and controlled. The surprise on their faces was almost comical, a mixture of shock and the dawning realization that their carefully constructed facade was about to crumble. Years of reading financial documents had taught me to recognize the micro-expressions of guilt, and both Gabriel and Leah were textbook examples. I watched as Gabriel attempted to maintain his composure. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the coffee cup, a telltale sign of the internal panic he was trying desperately to conceal. Leah's eyes darted nervously between Gabriel and me, her professional veneer cracking at the edges. They were professional manipulators, used to controlling narratives, but today, they were about to lose control completely. "I hope you don't mind if we have a little chat," I continued, sliding the folder across the table. The documents inside were a meticulously compiled dossier of their financial and emotional betrayal. Each page represented a betrayal, not just of our marriage, but of the fundamental trust that should exist between partners. The breakfast terrace, with its panoramic ocean view and elegant setting, became a courtroom of sorts. I laid out the evidence with the same clinical precision I once used in my forensic accounting work. $387,000 in hidden transfers, multiple shell companies, coordinated meetings carefully disguised as business interactions. Each revelation was a calculated blow designed to expose their complete deception. "Horizon Partners," I said, watching their faces. "Quite an interesting venture you've been running behind my back." Gabriel's attempt to speak was cut short. I wasn't finished. The divorce papers emerged from the folder, crisp and official. Each page was a legal instrument of my liberation, carefully prepared by Rebecca Martinez to ensure maximum impact. "You thought you were clever," I continued, my voice steady. "Creating shell companies, moving money through intricate channels, believing you could rebuild your life without consequences." Leah's professional facade began to crack. The confident businesswoman transformed into someone exposed, vulnerable. Gabriel tried to interject, but I raised my hand, a gesture that commanded silence with the same authority I once used in corporate boardrooms. The other guests began to take notice. Hushed conversations, sideways glances. What had been intended as a discreet meeting was now a very public dismantling of their elaborate lie. I pushed the divorce papers towards Gabriel. "Sign," I said simply. No emotion, no anger, just a professional directive. As I stood to leave, I realized this wasn't just about revenge. This was about reclaiming my narrative, about transforming from a victim to a strategist. The breakfast terrace had become my battlefield, and I had won, decisively and completely. Gabriel and Leah sat in stunned silence, the weight of exposure crushing their carefully constructed illusions. My exit was deliberate, powerful, each step a statement of my newfound freedom. The game was over, and I had emerged victorious. The moment I stepped out of the resort, I felt a transformation coursing through my entire being. This wasn't just a physical departure. It was a complete rebirth. My maiden name, Melody Sinclair, was more than just a legal identity. It was a declaration of my true self, stripped of the layers of betrayal and deceit that had defined my married life. I remembered the day I took Gabriel's last name, how young and hopeful I had been. The wedding was a lavish affair, meticulously planned, with everyone believing in the fairy tale of our perfect love. Back then, marriage seemed like a promise of forever, a sacred bond built on trust and mutual respect. Now, I understood that trust was nothing more than a fragile construct, easily shattered by those who chose deception over honesty. The legal team Rebecca had assembled worked with military precision. Within days, my financial independence was not just secured, it was fortified. Every joint account was separated, every investment carefully divided. Gabriel and Leah's elaborate financial scheme was systematically dismantled, their carefully constructed network of shell companies exposed and neutralized. My professional network became my greatest strength. Former colleagues from my forensic accounting days rallied around me, offering support, insights, and strategic advice. Late-night phone calls, coffee meetings, impromptu strategy sessions, they saw beyond the personal betrayal. To them, I wasn't just a woman scorned, but a professional taking back control of her narrative. I began to document everything, not out of bitterness, but as a professional case study. The intricate financial manipulations, the subtle methods of deception, the psychological strategies employed by Gabriel and Leah, each detail became a potential learning opportunity. I was transforming personal pain into professional insight. Therapy, with Dr. Elena Rodriguez, became an unexpected journey of self-discovery. She helped me understand that my response wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my power. Each session peeled back layers of emotional complexity, revealing a strength I never knew I possessed. We explored the patterns that had led me to this moment, the subtle ways I had been manipulated, and the incredible resilience that was now emerging. The media caught wind of the story, but I remained strategically silent. My lawyer managed the narrative, releasing carefully crafted statements that highlighted the financial fraud without delving into personal details. I became an anonymous symbol of professional resilience, a woman who transformed a personal betrayal into a powerful statement of independence. My forensic accounting skills, once dormant, now became my most potent asset. I began consulting with firms specializing in financial fraud detection, sharing insights from my personal experience. Workshops blossomed into speaking engagements. Seminars became opportunities to educate professionals about the subtle signs of financial and emotional manipulation. The divorce proceedings were swift and decisive. Gabriel and Leah found themselves facing not just a personal separation, but potential legal consequences for their financial manipulations. The shell companies they had so carefully constructed began to crumble under professional scrutiny. Each legal document was another nail in the coffin of their elaborate deception. I invested in myself with a vengeance. Professional development, programs, personal growth retreats, new educational opportunities. I was rebuilding myself from the ground up. The woman who walked out of that resort was fundamentally different from the one who had walked in. I was no longer defined by my marriage, by betrayal, by the limitations others had tried to impose on me. My personal brand of resilience became my greatest weapon. Speaking engagements started to multiply. Consultancy opportunities emerged from unexpected places. Publishing houses showed interest in my potential book about navigating personal and professional betrayal. The world was opening up in ways I could never have imagined during my marriage. The financial settlement was substantial, but it was never about the money. It was about proving that integrity, professional skill, and strategic thinking could overcome even the most calculated betrayal. Gabriel and Leah had underestimated me, and now the entire world would know my true worth. I began to mentor other women who had found themselves in similar situations. Support groups, private consultations, online forums. I became a beacon of hope for those navigating their own personal and professional challenges. My experience was no longer just my own. It had become a powerful tool for empowerment. My forensic skills found new purpose. I started working with nonprofit organizations that supported women facing financial abuse, using my professional expertise to help others uncover and escape manipulative situations. Each case was a reminder of my own journey, each success a testament to the power of knowledge and resilience. As I looked to the future, I realized this wasn't an end. It was a beginning. The forensic accountant in me saw life as a series of complex systems, of interconnected challenges to be analyzed and overcome. My marriage had been one such system, and I had successfully navigated its most treacherous terrain. My story wasn't about victimhood. It was about transformation, about rising from the ashes of betrayal and creating something powerful, something meaningful. I had reclaimed more than just my name. I had reclaimed my entire life. I had reclaimed my name. I had reclaimed my power, and I was just getting started.